All right, today we're going to walk through how to do this layout featured on page 23. And a couple things before I take this away. So for the sketch, they have a 12 by 12 sheet of paper with an 11.5 by 11.5 on top. And I'm going to show you a couple ways to create this look, but then for my layout, I'm going to do a completely different idea as well. For how to create this. So two ways to do it. One is simply by taking your background sheet, and I'm just using some scrap paper. If you maybe you have just some scraps and you don't have a full square, you can take it, and this is 11.5 by 11.5, so it is 1/4 of an inch all the way around. So what you can do is you can just cut 4 1/4-inch strips, and of course with this trimmer, this is the cut line. The 1/4 inch is right on the edge of the gray cutting mat. So we can just cut 4 of these. And adhere them around the edge of our paper. So we can take some repositional tape and just adhere these pieces all the way around. I'm not making it perfect. I did have a little edge there. And this is going to create a layered look without layering 2 whole pieces of paper. So it looks like my green is my background when actually the white is my background. So there's one way to create the layered look, and now you could leave the corners as they are, just kind of overlapping like that, or you can take your scissors and pick up both pieces of paper and cut and make mitered corners for all of them all the way around. I got a piece underneath there. And then I would put a little bit more adhesive right there on the corner to get them to stay down. So you could do that. Another way that you could create the look, and for this one, I'm just going to pretend that I want the white on the outside. So another way is to just take your piece of paper, of course, and trim it down to 11.5 by 11.5. And I usually measure what I want the measurement to be. So now, even though I knew that I would be taking a 1/2 inch off, instead of measuring it to cut a 1/2 inch off, I'm always measured to what I want it to be, because sometimes the paper is a little bit longer or a little bit shorter than 12 inches. So that's kind of just a little trick. I always like to cut to the length that I want, as opposed to what the length is that I want taken off. So then I can just take this and put it right on top. And then you still get the effect of having a 1/4 of an inch all the way around. If you want to take it one step further, on this sheet of paper, you can gut it so that you're not like basically wasting a whole sheet of paper. Maybe this is some fun designer paper that you want to save, or maybe you want to use it for mats right on top, so you can kind of conserve your paper that way. So that's 2 ways to create that frame look for your background paper. I'm going to do something a little bit different. Again, still kind of creating that background frame look, but I'm going to use one of the jumbo templates, and this one is Jumbo Wavy Square, and I'm going to use the outside edge. A little bit different. I'm going to have this be my background, and then I'm going to use this polka dot and have it be in front. So instead of doing the frame, because that might be a little bit hard to then adhere, I'm going to actually cut my 4 paper out of this one. And I want to have basically the smallest frame of that purple showing. So I am going to center this on my cutting mat, and then I'm going to center this on top. And with these, there are some little dots to help you kind of center this along the way. For the most part, I am just going to try and line up the corners, and I kind of watch the corners and just make sure I'm evenly spaced all the way around. And then I'm looking at the halfway points too to see that that's centered. And I am going to use my number 3 blade to go as far away from the system as I can, and again create the smallest purple showing to kind of mimic that 1/4 inch. And we're going to line up our little knobs in the groove. And for this one, I'm going to go pretty slow around because it's wavy, and I want to make sure that we're cutting it all. And I'm just kind of adhering, pushing pressure down on the mat, make sure it doesn't slip and slide. And you can see here, I didn't quite have my nubbies in the groove, that first little bit there. So I scratched my paper, but that's all right. And again, I'm just going really slow to make sure it's cutting through as I'm going around all these strange, weird corners. And still applying pressure so that it's not shifting on me. All right, before I pick my mat or my cutting system up, I'm going to take this and make sure that it was cut all the way around, kind of missing a little bit there. So I'm glad I checked before I picked it up and shifted anything there. So now, so I could have done this on the purple and tried to adhere this frame on my polka dot. This is just a little bit harder to make sure you're lining up all the way. So I did it the opposite instead. So now, again, we'll end up covering this up or something, embellish over it, it's fine. So now this is going to be what we're creating. So instead of having just some straight edges for that frame that they're trying to get you to create, I just have kind of a wavy edge. And what I am going to do is I'm going to gut this paper. I'm not sure if I'm going to use this for mats for this layout. I actually hadn't decided what color mat paper I want to use. But otherwise, if I don't even use it for this layout, I can use it for one in the future. So I'm just going to set this back on here. I need to figure out what size to cut off. So this is coming in probably less than 1/2 inch. I'm going to do just a 1-inch frame all the way around. That gives me plenty of room. I'm going to put these away, put this blade away so I don't cut myself or something. So for creating a frame or gutting your paper, what I want to do is line up the edge at 1 inch because I'm going to do a 1 inch frame. And now I could use binder clips to mark it, but 1 inch is pretty easy to remember, to figure out. And what I'm gonna do is I'm going to watch this ruler on the side, and I'm going to line up my white mark here on the blade. And again, since I'm doing I'm not gonna cut right now with holding it up, but I'm going to line up my white line with the 1 inch, and I will cut all the way down. And again, since 1 inch is easy, here's the 12-inch edge of my paper, and we're gonna stop at 11, and we're gonna stop there. And then we're gonna rotate and do that all the way around. Again, 1 inch frame is pretty easy to do and to watch. If I had a piece of paper that was smaller than 12 inches, or if I was doing maybe a 1/2 inch frame or a 1.5 inch frame, it's a little more tricky. And not that it's hard math to do, but it is just a little bit more difficult than a straight one. And you might have noticed what I like to do is start at the 1 and start cutting mostly all the way down, and then I will stop cutting and come down to the 11, so I know where I'm stopping at. I don't potentially go past it, and then I'll cut and go back up. So I kind of cut down, stop, and then go to where I need to stop at and go in. So now I have this piece, again, which I can use for mats. This side I know I definitely won't use on this layout, but I could mat my photos in this, but we'll decide that in a little bit. So now we've got a frame, and then this is going to go on top. So I'm just going to go ahead and adhere this all the way around. And again, center this on the mat so I can center my cut piece around. I think I just shimmied it. You know what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna take just a little bit of repositional tape in the corners so that I can line it up and it's not gonna shimmy on me or slide around. After I've lined it up. Okay, so now that's down and I can put this in. I think based on kind of embellishing, I'm gonna put my boo-boo over in this corner. Again, just if I'm following the sketch, that's where they did quite a bit of embellishing, so I'll kind of follow that. And again, I'm just trying to make sure that it's evenly spaced now all around. And let me take a second. And I really do find that watching like the camera overhead helps, but I think that is good enough for who it's for. Now, and actually before I adhered that down, I should have done the other ones so that I could cut them in the curve. Let's see. What the sketch wants us to do is have a 3 3¼ inch kind of behind some photos there. And I actually didn't even print photos for this. I know which ones I want, but I didn't print them. So let's just go ahead and cut that real quick. And this one, I was trying to see if there are more cupcakes being one way or another, and it is pretty multi-directional. So that is 3¼ and then they have some detail down here. You could do some sort of border punch, any sort of frame. I have this, which is from one of the Fast to Fab paper packs. They had some pre-embellished items in there. This does not tell you how tall this is. I was actually kind of surprised. They didn't give you a measurement for this. So we're just kind of guesstimating. I would think it's almost 2 inches or so based on the sketch. If this is 3 1/4, maybe 1 1/2, 2. For the purposes of mine, I'm going to just cut this, and I am going to cut to the bottom of this little plaid here. So I think I'm gonna go this way. Not plaid, maybe gingham. I don't know what it's supposed to be actually. Which is about 2 inches. And that's gonna go across my bottom. Now, what I didn't account for when I just put this on is that in the sketch, they want these 2 pieces to be more behind that frame piece. This doesn't really matter because this is part of the paper, and this is set behind the laser cut paper as well. So what I think I might do is lift this up and play around a little bit. And it looks like for the strip here, it's maybe about at the 6-inch mark. Again, I didn't cut my paper, or I didn't print my photos, but what I might do is cut out some mats. And now I'm just debating whether I want to use that purple. I think it might be a lot of purple, but what color do I use? I could use this. It's very neutral, but I don't want the stripy background, I don't think. Let's see what else I've got in here. I've got Happy Birthday. I do kind of like that, but that doesn't really pop. Oh, I could use this, which is very much similar to the background, but a little bit more tonal. And now I need 2 4x4 mats and 1 4.5 by 4.5. Can I get that out of this? I can do, yes. So let's do 2 4x4. There's 2 4x4 mats, and then this one needs to be 4.5 by 4.5. All right, and then this would come down here. This is gonna go up here and over here. Okay. So I'm just trying to figure out where I want to put this strip. I'm thinking probably just to make it easy going across, maybe the 6.5. 6.5, and that will start to cover up my boo-boo there. Maybe I'd go down just a little bit to make sure I do cover that up. There, and look at there, I covered my happy accident up, and then it kind of wants the photos to be like that. And I am totally just walking through this as I'm doing it. Okay, so that's that so far. I think I might do a little wavy edge on the top here above the candles. Let's do that real quick. I don't really like that, just cut straight across there. So I'm just gonna cut my wavy blade and put that in and see how that works. And I'm just barely gonna cut, get it straight here, and whoops, get it straight and lined up. I'm just gonna cut barely 1/8 of an inch off because I don't want to cut my flames off. I just want it to be a little bit wavy above. And I'm watching, I'm looking at this little arrow here, which is telling me right where I'm going to cut. And I'm just kind of running it across, making sure I'm above the flame tips. So I'm gonna go ahead and give it a try. Here I go. There we go. So didn't cut my candles off and just gave it a little bit more of an edge. Ooh, I'm gonna make sure to change that blade back. So when I go to cut again, inevitably in the future, I don't forget. Okay. So it's not a huge thing that you can see there, but I do like that better. Okay, so now what I need to do is get these two background pieces on here. And again, since I did it the opposite and I didn't use this as a frame to go on top of it, I am going to be very finicky and I am going to adhere it onto this and then fussy cut the edges. And I know I already adhered this on. And again, here you go. Here's me working through it with you. So we're not creating mistakes. We are creating happy accidents. All right. So for the purpose of, let's turn that over right now for a second. So for this one, I am, for the most part, I think gonna line that up like that. Okay, so I need to go all the way to the bottom and cut that across. Okay, so we're gonna adhere this on. And then we're going to stick it on. Oh, you know what I should grab? I'm gonna grab, since I have adhesive on there, like a smart dummy person, I'm gonna grab my large silicone mat and I'm gonna put it on top of this because there's a little bit of adhesive on here. And I'm gonna put, since there's adhesive on here, I'm gonna put this on here so it doesn't stick. And again, I've got my boo-boo here. And I've got my adhesive on this. And now I'm gonna line this up. And again, I want this to be to the bottom so that I can make sure to cover all that up. Now, if I would have thought about this really ahead of time, I would have put these pieces of paper on here and then cut it with the frame and done it all together. Again, shoulda, coulda, woulda. Okay, so now I want to line this up and put this piece on. And then I'm gonna fussy cut. And you know what? It's gonna get the job done. Might not be the most convenient thing I've done, but it will do it. And I did say I kind of just wanted to cover that part up. All right, let's make sure this is just kind of straight on here. I don't think it's quite center, but I just want to make sure it's straight-ish. And I'm just going to cover up my boo-boo and then make sure I'm lining it up across. All right, so there's that. Again, really backwards way. And now I'm just going to cut it off. Is this the most ideal way to do this? No. Is it going to get the job done though? Yep. So don't mind me. I'm just going to cut here for a little while on camera. If I were super talented, I would do like one of those fast forward things. But my video skills are not at that point right now, and editing and such. So you get what you get. Halfway done. All right, one more piece. All right, let's get that out of here. And we're gonna flip it over and take a look and see if there's any super obvious bumpies where it doesn't look like a nice wave that nobody else is probably gonna notice, but I did. Thought there was another, oops, there's another spot down here. It was a little bit more pointed than rounded. All right, so again, that was the long way around, but got the job done. I'm gonna put maybe a couple more dabs of adhesive on just to make sure she gets back down. Okay, so now we're gonna put it back down and center again as good as we can. And there we go. Okay, and now we have our mats, which our larger one is down here, and a smaller, and a smaller. And I'm gonna try and center this one, which is 4 inches. It should be at the 8 and the 4. I'm gonna go down just a little bit, and then these two are gonna kind of center with that. I'm not gonna adhere them down quite yet, so in my stash of stuff, let's see, oh, here we go. So on the sketch or example, they have a sticker here, some embellishment, and they also have a border sticker here and some embellishing. So I have this border sticker that I was thinking of using, and now I'm just debating whether I want it. I think I'm gonna go along the picture here instead of doing it down here, because this is very much a border down here. So I think I'm gonna go ahead and adhere these down. And again, I'm just trying to center for the most part between that 4 and 8, and I think I just bumped it and made it a little smidge crooked. Okay, and I'm planning on using this border, so maybe I will trim this. And again, now that I remember that this border is brown, maybe I wouldn't have done that, but I think it's actually going to be okay. It'll just be a little bit, but I'm going to put this on, and that one was 4 inches, so I'm going to put it down here, measure 4, and trim it, which happens to be right at one of the little scallops. And I'm going to put that on the bottom, and then now I can move my photos down just a little bit to account for that. And then I'm going to put this one here, I think. Don't really like that that's covering up a flower or a candle flame. If I cover that up, maybe I want to shift this photo up a little bit. Think I can do it? I'd probably shift it all up a smidge. Ta-da! All right. And then now put these, make that gap just a little bit smaller. You know, put this, and I'm not gonna put this down yet. I'm still covering up a flame. All right, we're just gonna put them down. I'm not gonna put that sticker on quite yet because, like I said, I did not print my photos. For some reason, my printer was not working well with me yesterday. All right, so there's that. I am going to, what I'm gonna do is, I learned this from a friend recently. I'm going to cut out some of this, and so similar to using like some wax paper, I don't want to adhere that like take down. I'm basically cutting out the background for that sticker. And this one was 4.5, so I'm going to measure this one to 4.5 and cut, which again is conveniently right at a scallop. And there I've got a little bit I could use later. But I'm going to put this sticker background on the back of that so I can adhere this down, but then I can kind of slide my picture under it later. And I'm just kind of looking to see that that's lined up and straight. Okay, so there I can take that off, and I can put my picture under and then take that off later. So there is that for now. Okay. What I need to do is embellish, and again, I hadn't really planned that out too much. I have a few embellishments left. I was kind of thinking of this little balloon animal. I could bring in that brown background, or I could just have the balloon animal. Let's see. I've got another candle. I could bring in that purple candle. I've got a unicorn balloon animal and a giraffe one. Maybe a purple heart. Wasn't a surprise. So I've got a couple cupcakes, because this is for my birthday from a couple years ago. So I like the idea of the purples, even though I think I was wearing a different colored shirt. So let's see. It had more embellishments here. Again, I don't think I need any more embellishing down here because my border is pretty bright, and I've got this, for the most part, embellishment here. I think I just need something there, and I don't want to do too much purple. I almost wonder if I want to do this. I could do a cupcake, but that kind of just looks strange. Maybe I just want that. Oh, I got an idea. That, and then there was, trying not to stick them as I'm playing with them. I could do something like that, even though the polka dots blend in with the polka dots. I could shift it in a little bit more. So it's something like that, so that my polka dots aren't completely blending in with the paper. So I don't know, something like that. I have to print my pictures and figure it out. I do really like this heart border, but I'm not going to use it on this one. I could have done that there. That would have been really nice, but I think it's fine. When I'm done, I could add some of the streamers maybe along the side there to mimic these ones. So I think for the most part I am done. I'm going to take these off for right now. I don't want them to stay stuck. I'm going to set them on, because I don't exactly know where I want them to go, and I don't want them to stick. Like this one's already sticking. Okay, so I'm gonna save those up here on my silicone mat for later. Once I get my pictures, I'll do that. I'll make a note what year this was. Again, I think my pictures from 2022 are the ones I was gonna print for this. So for the most part, that is done. Got a little border I can save for later. Again, I was kind of thinking of this candle. Maybe I'll put that on the other side with the other embellishments there to bring the candle from down here or up there. I don't know. We'll see. I'll print my pictures and we will finalize it. All right, there you go. In case you weren't being inspired by this page, there's a little bit of inspiration, and you learned a couple things of what not to do if you did want to create what I did here. Again, if you did want to do something like this, I would adhere my papers down and then use my blades to cut through it, as long as you're not cutting through something too thick. For these papers, I would have done that. But yeah, there you go. Or you could try to adhere your papers onto the background and place this on top instead. It's just a little bit finicky when you start trying to line up this thin frame, but definitely doable as well. So there you go. There's some inspiration. Have a good day.